Hi and welcome back to This Bytes for You. In this video we're going to be doing an unboxing and a brief overview of the Corsair 7000D Airflow case. If you've been here for the past 3 weeks, you've seen I've been having a bunch of issues with what I thought was my motherboard, what I thought was my video card, what I thought was my monitor. I've been having all sorts of issues, so I went nuts. I bought a new motherboard, a new CPU, a new case, and all the stuff to build a brand new system, and that's coming up soon. But I wanted to dedicate this video for the unboxing and the overview of this case. So if you are interested in this case, you know everything that comes inside and you're not left waiting another few days to get something that might be missing. And then we're going to have brief hints as to what's inside of this build. So come over here real quick, let's get started. So we can see in the front of the box, the case, it looks a little bit awkward, but they typically do on these kind of boxes. But anyway, 7000D Airflow full tower PC case, and that in French. Along the side here, we have some of the specifications, features, size and everything. 600 millimeters tall, that's 23.62 inches, and then 550 millimeters in length. That's 21.65 inches. So then in width, 248 millimeters, which is 9.76 inches. Okay, then along the back here, some more feature specifications. This kind of goes blowing it up, showing you, what you could do with the side panels, internally, externally, and then going over each and every little thing in the case in more description down here. So if anything, this is a good legend. We'll find out if they have anything else like that in the box. Okay, and then on this side, just dimensions and everything, but we're good for now. Alright, so just opening it like this first, so you can see sideways what'll come out of the box. I'm going to flip it over and just let it all fall out. Okay, so it looks like this is the front of the case. So now let me go ahead and drop it out. So I did forget to mention, I bought it in white. Now I bought this, I didn't get it sent to me to review. So now before we get to the case itself, it does bring the 7000D Airflow full tower PC case guide, if anything. This is going to show you everything that's included inside of the box. Everything here. Along the sides, let me bring you in a little bit closer. We can see this has on the side filtered mesh, so that it could breathe a little bit more. This is most likely where I'm going to be putting the liquid cooling unit. This is the back side. Now along the front, similar to the side, though, we can see the Corsair logo right over here, and it is that same mesh filter. Super tall case. Okay, now I'm skipping the side just for a minute so that I can show you the rear of the case. Now up here, since there is no room for a fan, they do have a ventilation here, because on the top you can also put liquid cooling unit, which I'll show you in a second. You can put it on the side, on the front, on the top. You have plenty of options. The rear has a 140 millimeter fan already included. You can of course swap it out for what you like, or you can put a 120 millimeter fan if you already have one you like. Here we can see the I/O, of course, where you would have the rear of the motherboard, standard. Then we have 8 expansion slots here, and then 3 vertical expansion slots. Very nice. It's included in the case. You don't need anything special aside from maybe the cable. Then down here we have for the power supply. Now this can take a power supply up to 8.86 inches in length, and here and up on the top we can see there are hinges. Interesting, I like where this is going. So coming around from this corner down to this corner, we have 30 inches of glass. It's tremendous. Now let me move the microphone a little bit closer so you can hear this come off. Maybe we'll get some epic audio, so one sec. That was pretty nice. I hope it came out clear for you. This case is 18.7 pounds. So my Lazy Susan is struggling a little bit. Now along the top over here, kind of nice. We have the same filter we had along the sides and the front of the case. But then right over here we have a little Corsair tab, and it's rubberized. So you can see it a little bit more closely. This is again rubber. It feels pretty nice too. Then down here, you'll notice there's the power button, 4 USB 3.0 slots, then 1 USB Type-C, 1 microphone and headphone jack, and then a reset button. Kind of odd that they went with the one jack for them all. Okay, so the reason I believe that they have the Corsair here in rubber is so that you can pull this off, the little grate, and then get to the mesh. Now the mesh is taped up, probably so it won't fall out during shipping. Okay, and looks like it is a magnetic mesh. Now with that same Corsair thing that we saw earlier along the lip of the top of this case, and yes, it is magnetic. You can see towards the bottom, and this is washable as well. So to mention, on the top, the sides, and the front, you can put radiators from 120 millimeters, 140 millimeters, 240 millimeters, 280 millimeters, 360 millimeters, 420 millimeters, and 480 millimeters. I'm going to list down below all the compatible Corsair radiators or liquid cooling units that they support. I won't be using one of those for this build. I'll be using a different one that I haven't used before, so stay tuned for that unboxing as well. So then right up here, they have a little thing pointing front, text, and then an arrow pointing front, as well as a thumb screw. You can see that right over here. All right, I didn't need a screwdriver for that. Okay, and it doesn't come out, so that way you don't lose it. And there's one along the top as well. This one, however, does require a screwdriver, or maybe I just couldn't get my fingers around it. But anyway, that way we can take that off. And then separate from the case, this makes it so much easier. We can attach a liquid cooling unit. Thank you, Corsair. This is amazing. So that opens up the case along the top. This is another great thing to thank Corsair about. Unfiltered, no pun intended, access to a case. Anywhere you can get it is great. Now coming back to the other side of the case, we can find, just pulling with your fingertips lightly, this opens up to reveal the back of the case. Now, there are little nubs. Those nubs go right into here and right into here to keep the side panel in place. That way you don't need a screwdriver. Now, there was a piece of tape right over here, but unfortunately I wasn't recording. So anyway, that held this door shut, which this door doesn't have any little nubs, but it is magnetically sealed right up here and right up here to keep everything nice and tight. For shipping purposes, they put the tape there, but you don't need it anymore afterwards. So this is awesome. This reveals the rear side of the case. They took a lot of time on this. You could tell because they have their little controller here, so you can have 3 already taken out, but you can use a different 3 right down here. That way you control them all through one port. Then they have 1, 2, 3 Velcro ties to keep all your cables nice and neat. That's awesome. So down here we have 6 3.5 millimeter drive bay trays that you can just easily slide out. Those can also be used as 2.5 millimeter. Just put them right here instead of using the 3.5s right up here. So 6 3.5s or 2.5s or whatever math you want to do to get your different SSDs or your different drives. Then back here, they have 3 more bays for 2.5 inch drives. So in total, you can have 9 drives. That's pretty awesome. Now, if you wanted to, typically this is reserved for, there's an opening here for the rear of the motherboard. That way you can, put liquid cooling unit plates on and everything. Now, it's still there, though it's kind of hidden. Using a screwdriver to take this thumb screw off. which also does not come off. It's got the little protection here, so that way you don't lose the thumb screw, which is great. You can get to the back. Now, this case is compatible with ITX, MATX, ATX, and EATX motherboards. So I'm just keeping all this stuff disconnected just for right now. Okay, and then over here, they have their little power supply tray that you can just slide right over here. So you don't really need to use this unless you want to. Now the power supply, I think I mentioned before, can be up to 8.86 inches. And then right over here, we have all the front panel cables, USB Type-C, USB 3.0, HD audio, another USB 3.0. Don't worry if your motherboard doesn't have two USB 3.0s. I'll show you how to convert that into a USB 2.0 during the build. And then we have right over here the power LED connection, reset switch, power switch, and then coming along through all these cables here as well, we have SATA power. That's going to be needed for the USB hub. So let's go ahead and close this up. And let's get to the inside of the case. And the side filter, as we had before, is also magnetic and removable as well. So another bonus on the Corsair side is this panel, the one that you're going to access the most, the glass, has that same slide open mechanism, which is amazing. Now, inside of the case, we're going to have right over here, zip tied in. These are all the accessories, all the screws, all the zip ties, and everything we'll need, which I'll go over in one sec. Bunch of professionally looking Velcro straps, which is pretty awesome. Then it looks like a fan extension cable. That's nice. And then also if we wanted to change out the 8 or 4 of the 8s that are horizontal, if we wanted to make them vertical, we can as well. Pretty nice. All right, now let's take a closer look inside the case. Down here we can see, actually it is glass or maybe plastic protected, but this is where the power supply goes. That way you can see maybe what model power supply you have in there, or if you have any kind of art or RGB on the side of that power supply. So along the bottom of the case we can see opening right over here for your power supply, but you can notice down here, and I'll go to the bottom in a second, they also have an opening. More than likely you're going to want your fan to be on the bottom of the case. You don't want it to be facing up, because if a screw falls or if liquid falls, that's going right in your power supply. Then we can see down here some more holes where we can fit some of the power supply cables, or maybe the front panel header or front panel I/O cables right down along here. Along the front we can see two 140mm fans. We can add a third if we'd like to, or we can just get rid of that and put a liquid cooling unit. Then right over here, more tape. They want to make sure nothing happens during shipping. Then we can see another Corsair right down here. We'll get to removing that in a minute. Okay, now on the back plate of the board, you might be able to see it, and I'll see if I adjust the colors, if anything, but we can see right down here, remark, A, ATX, M, micro ATX, I, ITX, and E, EATX. So that tells you next to every single screw on the back plane on this board, this legend tells you what each and every screw is for, which is great to have. Along the top over here, we have openings for more cables that maybe we reach along the back of the board. And then also would be up here for the EPS 8-pin or the 4-pin CPU power cable. And this would be for additional maybe fan cables or something along those lines. So coming along back to the front, if we remove this, we have another filter This one has this cover right over here, or this filter. It is also washable. It is not magnetic, but you know, it's still latched in there pretty nicely. Just hold this, lift and pull out, and it comes out easily. This exposes the two 140mm fans. Again, you can always add your third down here. This also exposes the hard drive trays along the back, and opening this guy up here as well. So we're going to take off this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw, and this screw down here. There's a bunch of screws. And actually, I misplaced this screw over here. But that's okay, I know exactly where I put it. Just didn't put it back on the case. So, that crashing you heard was a panel on the inside. And I'll show you that in 1 second. And then also removing these two here. And this one right here. And be careful because it'll fall on you. So this is where you would put one of the liquid cooling units on this side as well. So like the top, we can take it out. And like the front, we can take it out, put the liquid cooling unit in and pop it in. Makes it so much easier. Okay, now you think you might be done here, but you're not. So there are two additional thumb screws right in here. You could see one here and one down here. So you have to take those out. So the reason I took those two out is now, if I wanted to, I can take this drive tray out of here. Now mind you, there is some cable intertwining in here that I can get rid of, but I'd have to spend some time to get rid of it. But this is to give you an idea of why I did that. Okay, this was the piece that fell in the glass, and I can just reach in here and take it out. Okay, so now you might notice a grommet, a big old grommet right in there. Let me bring you in a little bit closer. Okay, so that grommet is right on the side of the board so that you can feed in maybe an ATX cable, some fan cables, front panel header cables. If they're not down here, they might be along here, or maybe even down here, but gives you a lot of opportunities. And then you can just cover it back up with this piece as well that, remember, says Corsair right down here. Okay, now the reason I took off a bunch and some over here is now I can just remove this and this guy, which I took off a second ago, but I put back on. And now I can just put this here, screw it in on the other side, and I have access to 6 drives right in front of here. Now remember, you're able to put 3 fans right here. So with the 6 drive bays right over here, if you're putting a third 140mm fan, it's obviously going to be blocked. So for me, I'd probably just remove both trays, put them in the box, put another fan here, because I have 3 trays back here for 3 SSDs, and then another one on this back plate if I leave it on for another drive or SSD or something along those lines. So you have tons of opportunity here for drives. You would make this look a little bit nicer, but I just took it off for now just to show you the grommets and how you can get these drive bays, you know, placed differently. Coming along the bottom of the case, we can find right under the power supply where you would have the fan facing a filter that is easily removable. Now, one awesome thing to mention is this is the bottom of the case, this is the side of the case. So rather than this hinge being on the back, which is hard to get to, this is on the side. So rather than having to reach back here, which is very hard to do, just come over here while you're gaming, while you're doing whatever. Oh man, I need to wash it. Go wash it, bring it back, let it dry, Do not put it while it's wet. Let it dry. Then just slide it back into place. Now notice the feet here, they have a rubber pad. So the foot here is an inch tall. So gives you plenty of room for your power supply to breathe. So that is great. And then you're on rubber pads here. So your computer isn't going to be sliding around if you're on a hardwood floor or a tile floor. If you're on a carpet, I do recommend put this somewhere elevated, like on top of a box or on top of something made for a case. Don't keep it on your carpet. This is going to suck up dust, pet hair, who knows, whatever else as well. So aside from the filter and the feet, we can see they have a little indentation right over here for the hard drive cage, and then the other hard drive cage that we just removed. Okay, so then for the power supply, aside from removing the filter, it also has 4 rubber feet right over here to keep it from vibrating the case, making too much noise. And then if we wanted to remove that piece of glass, we can just always unscrew it and take it out. So it's cool if you want to keep it there to make it look nice and pretty, or remove it to maybe add a piece of artwork there, or maybe add a little LCD there in case you wanted to show off some thermals or something along those lines. So then for cable management, you have a pretty deep covering right over here, and then of course you have this to close, which is magnetic, and then you have this panel as well, which just locks right up here in the front. Now, this gives you almost a full inch of cabling space right over here, which is amazing. So you can fit a lot of cables, and then you don't have to worry too much about it not fitting properly. And then again, about cable management, along over here, they give you some routing placement as well. And then you can use those Velcro straps that they included over here to keep everything nice and neat coming from the power supply or from the bottom of the case, any particular cable. Now, for those of you that want to put an LCD screen, you have about, let's say, ½ an inch of space to put a little screen right over here. You could probably fit a tablet in there. For example, my Google Pixel 5 fits perfectly fine. And just to show you, perfect. Okay, and now to go over the bag of screws or accessories. So in here, 10 of the smaller, thinner zip ties. These come in handy for getting into tight spaces. And then 8 SSD screws. These are incredibly tiny, like incredibly small. So small. I'm going to keep them in this larger bag because they're going to get lost. These are tiny. Then 8 washers. See that right there. Then 3 additional standoffs, 18 motherboard and hard drive screws. I'm going to keep these in the bag. There's a lot. Then 3 of the larger standoffs with rubber tops right here. Not 100% sure what these are for, but we'll get into that in the build. And then 20 fan screws. I'll leave these in the bag as well. These are the larger screws that are required for those fans. Then these look like additional standoffs, but these aren't listed. 2 additional standoffs, could have been just extras. Okay, so in order to go ahead and put this bracket on, we're just going to come around the back over here, undo these 2 screws, and then open up this panel here. And now we'll go ahead and remove the 4th PCIe expansion slot. 4th one from the top, of course. And that goes ahead and releases, oops, I'm sorry. It's the 3rd, not the 4th. And that goes ahead and releases that entire panel. So now all we need to do is pop this in place. And then go ahead and screw this in place. So now you can have your vertical cards here as well, and then have your system just like you like it. And then of course you can always remove these and put them here if you want to go ahead and block them off. So I hope you enjoyed my unboxing and overview of the Corsair 7000D Airflow. An amazing case. We basically took it completely apart and then, well, off camera I put everything back together. It is pretty amazing. It has just about everything and anything you need. Now we'll find out for sure exactly everything it has as we're doing the build. That's of course when we find out everything. Just remember, before you do a build, go ahead and plan it, put things in place, see how everything's going to fit. But just by looking at it, it looks like everything is going to fit perfectly fine. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. How you like this unboxing. I went a little bit more in depth than I usually do for an unboxing. And what you think about the case itself. I'm in love with it. Corsair typically does an amazing job on cases in my opinion, and they haven't stopped on this one. But again, let me know down in the comments below what you think. As always, please do click like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And well, if you want to help the channel grow a little bit, go ahead, buy me a cup of coffee. That helps tremendously. Because of all your donations and all the views and everything, I did buy this case on my dime. So everything you guys provide goes back into the channel. So always definitely appreciate it there. So more coming soon on this. Stay tuned. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.